Welcome back to Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. Roger Hoover, great to be with you in Tuscaloosa at Saban Field at the Advantage Center inside our podcast studio. Now, please be joined by Alabama softball's Catelyn Riley as we talk about her senior year in Crimson after a little bit of time in red and blue. But Catelyn, it's great to have you with us. How's everything going? Roll Tide.
It's great to be here, and I really appreciate y'all having me on.
Yeah, we're certainly excited to hear about your journey to Alabama softball, originally from East Tennessee, a little bit of time at Ole Miss, but now you've made your way here. And just, I know we're only a few weeks into the season, but how much fun have you had getting to play for the Crimson Tide?
I've had so much fun. The girls and I have clicked like really, really quick, and like we've been amazing together and all that kind of stuff. So I've been having so much fun.
What do you like about this team so far?
I like how we're easy to get along with. So like if there's something that needs to be said, we'll say it. But also if like something's going good, we'll just keep going with it. And that kind of stuff is really cool.
How'd you guys start to gel together in the fall?
It was more Murph put a lot of it on to start with, but then it came from us seniors kind of getting all the girls together at one of our apartments and just having dinner and just like getting to know each other better and just finding the stuff that clicks with each person.
Who were some of the most welcoming people your first couple days here?
I would have to say Marley Giles and Kendall Clark because they have welcomed us with open arms. And then as like a pitching staff, we do like every now and then again, we do like dinners and all that kind of stuff together. So it's really been fun.
Yeah, that's a great relationship to build with your catchers. How does Marley keep you guys on track during the game?
So everyone's a little different. It's just all how she likes to talk to you and that kind of stuff. For me, I'm more of a level-headed person. I just need, hey, let's keep going, that kind of stuff. Some people may need, let's get after it kind of stuff, but everyone is different. And so she caters that to people.
Well, continuing to look at the beginning of the season for Alabama, you have all this work in the fall, you have all the work in January, just getting ready to play that first game. How meaningful was it when you stepped on the field at Candrea Classic, getting to play for Alabama, also hitting a run in your first home run with your first game with Alabama against Michigan State?
It was really cool. I was really excited to be there. I'd never been to Arizona before. I say that as I've never been outside the airport before. So it was really cool to like experience that. And it was also Jocelyn's like home weekend visit. So it was good to meet all her family and see where she was from too. But going back to the softball side of things, it was really exciting to like calm the nerves. And we're playing on the same team now. We're not practicing against each other anymore. So it was great to just play somebody else for a change. So
yeah, do you like that about the softball schedule? Hey, you have a very busy weekend in Arizona, a very busy weekend obviously in Clearwater, and then that continues even back here for these home tournaments.
Oh yeah, I love it. I love how we're go, but it's also nice that these next few weekends we're home for a span of 4 weekends in a row. So last weekend we're home this weekend. We're going to be home I think again next weekend, and then we open up SEC play with Mississippi State. So it's really excited to actually be home for a little bit. So,
well, you're a unique player for the Crimson Tide, a two-way player, somebody that, of course, works in the circle as a pitcher, and then we get to see you at the plate as well as one of our good power hitters and someone that can drive in runs. Have you always liked playing both sides of softball?
Yes, sir. I classify one as, so if one's not working, the other one's more of like a mental release for the other. So like if I'm having an off day hitting, pitching's more of like, all right, just go out there and have fun, vice versa with hitting. So it's more, they balance each other, yin and yang kind of style.
Does it make it difficult, your practice schedule and what you have to do? Because it's not the same for the position players and the pitchers every day.
No. So for me, I'll either start with bullpen or start with hitting, and then I'll switch halfway through practice. So I don't do a lot of defensive work in the practice with teams. So I do some on my own, but also just work in when I can, when we have the time for it. So.
Well, let's talk about your approach at the plate. What's your mindset? What are you trying to do?
I'm just trying to pepper it off the wall, and then good things will happen from there. Trying to hit a hole through whatever side of the fence we see that we need for the weekend.
And it's led to some good results. Have you always been a good power hitter?
Yes, sir. That's been my biggest thing. I'm not the quickest person in the world, but I'm pretty strong. So.
Definitely are. So again, good results at the plate. How about inside the circle? What's Catelyn Riley like?
I have to remind myself to breathe because if I get too fast, I throw through everything. So for me, it's like remaining calm, level-headed. That's what I need the most out of everything, and that's what I try to stay and try to be present with everybody when I'm there.
What are the different pitches you throw in when you're on your game having success? What are they doing to the hitters?
It's kind of baiting them to swing at what they don't want to really swing at. For me, I'm heavy drop. That's no lie. That's what I throw 90% of the time, and I think anybody in the country would know that. But it's just like see it and just let it break. So.
Do you get more satisfaction after striking somebody out when you're a pitcher, or hitting a home run, or getting a clean base hit? What feels better for you?
For me, it's more of if I can get 21 ground ball outs, I would be over the moon. That's how I think about it, and like that's my approach to anything in the game. Is like as a pitcher, I want 21 ground ball outs. That's what I want. So.
That's really good. And again, it's leading to success for the Crimson Tide already this season. We'll talk about what's coming up in a moment. But first, we want to go all the way back to where your journey begins in softball. First of all, tell us where you're from.
I'm from a small town called Dandridge, Tennessee. It's about 30 minutes east of Knoxville.
And that's good. And you grew up in a very athletic household. What can you tell us about your parents?
Yes. So my dad played college football at Tennessee and won a national title with them in the 98 season. And then my mom was a sports agent for a couple years on and off before I was born.
So sports always around the household, right?
Oh yeah, my dad's two brothers both played football. My older cousin played basketball, football. My younger ones played golf. One's a cheer, dance. One's playing basketball. Finals tonight, something like that. So yeah, it's exciting.
Well, we've talked with a lot of kids of famous athletes before, like your dad was at Tennessee. But how about with a mom that's a sports agent? Because that's kind of a different world all to its own.
Oh yeah, she's I say the Superman of our family. She does a little bit of everything, but now she's more in like the legal side of aspects of just life in general. She's amazing. She's a saint. Between me and my dad, when I'd pitch growing up, she was the calming source because we can both get a little hot-headed some days.
And that allow you to any special experiences, getting to see kind of what she does on a day-to-day basis?
It kind of just to see her be a mom, but also be a coach's wife is really exciting because we would have a bunch of my dad's football players over at the house. So I say I have big brothers all over the country. So when we go play in South Carolina later this year, I'll have some people come out that I get to see, and I'm really excited.
So your dad, head coach at Jefferson County High School. Did you grow up on the sidelines basically all his games?
Didn't really ever want to be on the sidelines. It was more I wanted to be running around in the parking lot, playing flag football, just being in sports, doing whatever I could just to be up and moving. So Mama always calls me a wanderer because I just kind of move around a lot. I also pace all the time in the dugout. If anyone's ever noticed that, I still do that to this day. I feel like I can't sit still some days. So.
So with that, I imagine pretty competitive growing up.
Oh yeah, for sure. I had no choice. I was sandwiched in between two boy cousins because I'm an only child, and we would wrestle, we would play football out in the yard, we'd throw ball out in the yard, all that kind of stuff.
That's good. And eventually that led to softball. What was your introduction to this sport?
It was actually when I lived in, I think, Georgia. I started playing with the girls who were older than me, and they were my best friends because we were in the same kind of age bracket in school. And I just fell in love with it ever since. What really got me started into pitching was more of I saw somebody who was always doing something during the game. And I'm like, I want to do that because some days I can have a little bit of a squirrel brain, like, oh, what is this? Where's that? So it really keeps me locked in when I'm constantly doing something.
When did it start to click for you that this could be a path towards college softball?
I kind of figured it out between my 8th grade and my freshman year. That's also when I went through a massive growth spurt and I was starting to figure out my body some more. And I was like, oh, I'm actually way better at this than I am basketball because I grew up in the era of like, oh, I thought I was going to go play basketball like somewhere. Thought I was going to be a great basketball player. Turns out I was only 5'10" and not 6'4". So that turned into me really putting passion into softball, and I fell in love with it, and I've never looked back.
A lot of times when we talk with softball players, baseball players, and they give us their high school stats, pretty eye-popping numbers. Any crazy records or any stats you put up during your days at Jeff County?
Not that I can think of off the top of my head. We won not a national championship, a state title my sophomore year in 2019 before COVID happened. So my junior year, that's when COVID happened. So.
And that had to be tough for it to be shut down. How did you kind of stay grounded in that time, both with your studies and sports, and try to make sure you were still on that path towards playing college sports?
So for me, it was more of like my dad was there also to catch me a lot. So I was very grateful for that and him in that aspect. We had exactly like 43 feet in our side yard where we could throw. So that's what I did a lot of times. For me, we also had a field that wasn't too far away that was just wide open because I come from an agricultural area. And so we'd go out and hit there. We'd hit a bow net, that kind of stuff.
And then eventually sports came back and you got
Mhm.
back in your senior year. Recruiting process started. Was it a whirlwind when all these colleges started reaching out to you, wanting you to come to their campus and play softball?
It was a little different. I knew I always wanted to play in the SEC. That was my dream from the time I was little. And so it was not a lot of SECs reached out to me when I was first going through it. And so it was like just trusting the process and just trusting what would come my way.
And eventually an offer came from Ole Miss. So what
Mhm.
can you tell us about the decision to sign with the Rebels?
I knew I wanted to just go play in the SEC, and it was my chance to do that. And so took the leap of faith. And my mama said, if I didn't believe you could go live 7 hours away, I wouldn't let you. So that was something that really put some faith in myself from her, that I could go and live 7 hours away from home, because I am an only child and I am very family oriented, which is something I still am to this day.
And speaking of your family, your dad, again, a great football player at Tennessee, won a national championship there. You're only about 30, 40 minutes away from that campus.
Mhm.
So was it a different feeling blazing your own path, going to another school in the SEC versus maybe that hometown feeling?
I knew it was something I always wanted to do. I knew I didn't really want to stay super close to home, but I also knew I didn't want to go, say, West Coast or up north. My one thing was I don't want to be cold when I play. So I knew anything above like the state of Kentucky was like out the question from the jump. So
So you make your way to Oxford, Mississippi. What are you most proud of your years at Ole Miss?
being the teammate in person I was, but also being involved in FCA while I was there. I was heavily involved with that, but also just knowing people around the community and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and then you got to play at a high level there as well. Was the transition from high school softball to college softball difficult for you?
It was, but I also had some really good support systems that would help me along the way. My high school head softball coach, she talked to her a ton my freshman and sophomore year. Same thing with my pitching coach from high school. I would talk to her all the time, just like more about the mental side of things, because like they'd been there and they had done it. And I just needed somebody of reason some days that it wasn't in my day to day.
Well, as an Ole Miss softball player, you get to play the Crimson Tide,
Mhm.
both I imagine in Oxford and here in Tuscaloosa.
Yes, sir.
Tell me about coming to the Rhodes House as a visitor. What was that experience like?
I kind of mentioned this in our weekend warm up last weekend, but it was really cool. The fans were amazing, and I truly believe that they do make a difference on the opponents, because they did for me when I was there. So it's really cool to have them on my side this year. And so it's awesome to see, because the fans get after it and I love it.
Did you hit well? Did you pitch well when you were here before?
I pitched all right. I didn't pitch great, and not by a long shot, but it was okay.
Well, your Ole Miss days come to a close. You're able to graduate from the University of Mississippi as
Yes,
well.
sir.
Kind of what was in your mind about maybe finishing out your college experience somewhere else?
I knew I was going to graduate in 3 years. And I was like, if I'm going to make the change, I need to do it now so it doesn't affect my studies from here on out. Because that was one thing my mama also taught me growing up, is like studies also come first, because you're not just an athlete, you're also a student and a human. So that was the biggest thing for me. It was like getting another degree was really important for me.
And then you go in the transfer portal. How quickly did Alabama reach out to you?
They were really quick to reach out. I loved it. Lance was my first phone call. He was amazing. I knew I wanted to come on a visit from the jump and never looked back.
What impressed you most during that visit?
Probably how they were able to balance my visit, but also a camp at the same time. So they were working at softball camp that same time as I was on a visit. So it was really cool to see them still be involved with me, but also being involved in camp at the same time, because I never felt distant from them while they were there. Like, because there was every bit of 100 kids probably or more at camp, and they were still heavily involved in like meeting all the campers, like recruiting, because it was probably, I would assume, a recruiting camp while they were there. So it was like those kind of camps, and it was cool to like see that welcoming experience. Sorry.
So when you were here, did you have the feeling you'd sign with Alabama? Did you take a little bit of time? When did it all click that this was the place to be?
I took a little bit of time from when I took a step back, just to like process everything, make sure it was the right decision, wouldn't rush into it. And I prayed about it a lot and had a lot of conversations with a lot of different people, just to make sure I was going to do the right thing. And I wholeheartedly believe I did. So.
What was the moment like when you either called Coach Murphy or got in touch with the coaching staff and said, "Hey, I'm going to play here for the Crimson Tide"?
It was amazing. I think Coach was cooking dinner with her daughter, Dylan, and she was like, "Oh my goodness, Dylan, you need to come wish her like congratulations," which is really cool as someone who wants to go into the coaching world to see that as a female coach who's having a family going through it all. It made me feel like, okay, this was the best move for me to see a family atmosphere while I'm playing and what I want to do when I grow up.
And that's part of the unique status you have on this team. You get to work with, really everybody on this staff. Let's talk more about Coach Bro. What have you learned from her?
Just level-headedness, I would feel like, and just little things that are intangibles and that kind of stuff that come with the game, that not everyone knows the day to day. Like some days, like pitching, she's like, "Hey, like, why don't you take a break for a second? Like, just breathe." Like that kind of reminder and that kind of stuff, which is really good for me.
And then how about Lance with the pitching side?
Oh my goodness, he's amazing. Me and him click. I feel like I can ask him any question. Like, no question is a dumb question, I would say, which is amazing. So.
And then how does he get you organized for your starts or just scouting reports on the other teams? Is it a lot of video work? How do you get ready to go on game day?
It's more individualized to the person. For me, I like a lot of film and like watching a lot of people. I also don't like watching film on myself by myself, so he'll watch it with me, which is amazing, to see what I need to work on from the previous weekend and that kind of stuff. But it's very tailored to the individual pitcher of like our freshman, Brea Hodges. She may not want a lot of film like on opponents, but I want to see other people's swings and that kind of stuff. Same thing with Jocelyn Brisky. Like she may not want a lot of video, but same thing. Like whoever wants it can have it. It's there for you to take.
Oh, that's really good. So yeah, those coaches do such a good job. And then Coach Murphy's really known all across campus, all across sports, for the way he's able to motivate teams, talking about Mudita, how that really helped the men's basketball team make the Final Four a year ago. What's it like when he's talking to the entire team, getting you guys ready to go for either practice or a ball game?
Some days I feel like, most days actually, I feel like I'd run it through a brick wall for him. He's like another parent figure in my life that I am grateful to have in my corner. I wouldn't trade him for the world. He's an amazing human and just truly cares about us as people, but also as athletes, which is amazing because not all programs do that, which is really cool to see.
It really is cool to see. And again, now you get to be part of the Rhodes House culture. You got to go to the weekend warm up at Baumhower's last week. How much fun is an event like that, getting to a little taste of what's to come later on that day?
Oh, it was so exciting. I loved it. I love getting to meet the fans and get out and experience and like hands-on one-on-one conversations, which is really cool that you can't always have right after games and that kind of stuff because our family's signing autographs, that kind of stuff. So it was really cool to have one-on-one interactions.
Yeah, and that's coming up the rest of the season as well. And also, that's kind of part of trivia night. How much fun was your first trivia night here
Oh,
a
I
few
had
weeks
so
ago?
much fun. Me and Emily Winstead are going to try to convince our parents to go in on a table next year together because we had that much fun on it. So.
And those fans, I imagine you're seeing every time you go back out to play, right?
For sure. They're amazing, and it was so much fun to see. And then just like the live auction stuff was really cool as well. So.
Well, that's a lot of good fan support for you as you get to play for the Crimson Tide. And we know this weekend is going to be really, really special. The one thing that Alabama softball does always well, senior day, and tailoring a day all around you and your experience. And even though you're still only a few weeks as a member of the team this season, how meaningful is it to have senior day coming up this weekend?
It means a lot to me because I'll have so many different supporters from all different walks of life. And I can't wait to go out there and just like see everyone and get to interact with more people, but also to see my people that I have been through the journey with and that have supported me since I was a freshman in high school.
It gets pretty emotional on senior day. You ready for that?
Oh, yeah. I cried making my video, so there will most definitely be tears shed.
Well, that's really cool. Great your family and so many people get to come see you play this year as this Crimson Tide team. We're still a few weeks away from SEC play starting. What's going to be most important for this group over the next few weeks before conference action begins?
Just staying together and trusting the process because there will be highs and lows, but as long as we stay together and stay level, it'll work its way through it.
What do you feel like this team's capable of this year?
I think we're capable of winning a national title because we are the most together I've ever been on a team, and also just togetherness and loving each other because when the good times are good and the bad times are bad, we're still going to love each other no matter what.
Well, certainly we hope your final game this year is in Oklahoma City, a winning national championship for the Crimson Tide. But once that final out's completed, this softball season comes to a close. What is next for Catelyn Riley?
I'm going to be GAing here next year as well to finish up my master's program, but also I would love to get into the coaching world and possibly play professionally as well.
Do you like how more options are coming open in the professional world in
For
softball?
sure, all the way from AU to independence organizations that have the ability of having pro teams and that kind of stuff, which is awesome.
So you want to max out your playing career, but then coaching is something you're really interested in.
Hmm.
Definitely with your family background, could
Yes.
see that. What would you like to do in the coaching world?
I would like to be a pitching coach, but also possibly transition into a head coach one day because I want to give back to the sport that's given me so much. They took a small town girl from Dandridge, Tennessee, and brought her to Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and has shown her so much of the world.
Well, we look forward to seeing this journey. And again, hopefully a great one coming up. Your senior year here playing for the Crimson Tide. Caitlin, just thank you for all the time you've given us today here on the Crimson Tide Sports Network. Best of luck with everything moving ahead for you and Team 29. Roll Tide.
Thank you so much for having me. Roll Tide.